Hello, everybody. I'm going to flip the screen in a second. I'm getting all my connections together. I am actually doing a dual broadcast here with Facebook, Instagram, Periscope, etc. All right, so thank you so much, parents, for joining, and anybody else or students that are on this broadcast. My name is Professor TK the Chemist, and it is my job to make sure that you guys develop confidence in STEM education. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to the camera right. Okay, so here we go. So so when I'm looking at two different screens, it is because I am on YouTube Live right now, and I'm on Periscope and Facebook. So here's what I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about, some tips that you as a parent can give your child or even you yourself to go into STEM careers. Now, for those of you all that don't know what STEM is, STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math, but they also use the acronym well, actually, they added the A in last year in 2016, and they call it STEAM education, and the A stands for R. There are a lot of children who actually go into STEM or STEAM education not realizing that they have those abilities, okay? A lot of times parents don't know which way to go in terms of making sure that their children can succeed in those professions. So they're oftentimes intimidated by this. So I'm gonna give you all three quick tips. As a professor, I have many different roles, and by day, I work with my college students, giving them motivational tips and empowering them to believe that they can do it. Because I know chemistry is one of those intimidating topics that they don't like to take, but when they get me, they have fun because I'm a confidence builder. I love to build up my students' confidence, especially in a topic that they deem very difficult to do. So I'm going to be very quick with these tips, and if you miss anything, you can always go back and play them back for later. So tip number one, what can a parent do to get their child engaged in STEM or STEAM education? Well, there are a lot of things you can do. You can take them to the library, get a couple of books on science, technology, engineering, art, or math, and have them read those books with you. With experiments that you don't mind your child doing with you, and you all do them together. There are a lot of things you can do, particularly this time of year with science. So let me give you all some quick experiments that you can do that don't cost you much. You can take, let's say, for instance, paper, roll it up into columns. You can roll them up very small, like this, or you can make them a little bit larger, like that, and determine how many columns should you build to be able to withstand the amount of weight that maybe one or two textbooks could hold. That's an engineering skill right there. And they're using these skills every day as they build highways and the bridges and all kinds of places. So that's an engineering skill. Chemistry, you can have your child look at baking soda and vinegar and tell them, ask them to probe, what happens if I have this particular powder combined with this liquid? What do you think the outcome is going to be? You could trick them and put water in one of those, like if you get a pipette or if you don't have access to a pipette, you can get like an eyedropper, of course, something that you're not going to use anymore, and place water in one dropper and water in one dropper and vinegar in another dropper, and see if they can determine what they think the outcome is going to be. Again, this is all science and inquiry-based information. You do not have to make this hard. You can take simple things at home to make them, to allow them to see how science can be rewarding. So you can have your powders laid out. You can have baking soda, baking powder, flour, baby powder, if you still use that, which I wouldn't recommend, cornstarch. You can have at least 3 to 4 or 5 different powders that your child can do an experiment on. You can also add iodine to that because iodine will actually react with starches. So if you add the drops of iodine to them, they will actually change like a purplish, blackish color, grayish color. So that's just one idea that you could use with your child, okay? Again, it don't cost you nothing. That whole experiment right there costs you less than $3, okay? Another thing that you could do with your child around this time of year is to go out there and pick out some leaves and figure out, why did these leaves change colors? Why did they go from being green to orange, maybe yellow, okay, brown, red, okay? Beautiful colors this time of year. Have your child pick those leaves out and see if they can figure out what may have caused those leaves to turn colors, and look at the science behind that. Maybe they can extract the color from them, like doing some basic chemistry skills. Now, something else you can do, you can go get a pumpkin, maybe like a small pumpkin, different types, maybe some squash, butternut squash, alcorn squash, put it in like a pail of water, or even fill up your bathtub with water, or your sink in the kitchen with water. See what happens when your child places those items in the water one by one. Will they sink or will they float? That's for you and your child to kind of come up with a great hypothesis to see what would happen if they place those items inside the water. You can also use apples, because apples are very popular during this time of year. Lemons, limes, a whole different variety of fruits and veggies that you and your child could pick out to make this a fun activity. I actually have a free ebook that you can actually download if you would like, and it just gives you some basic science experiments that you could actually do. And you can also do things with dry ice. Okay, so inside my ebook, there are a couple of experiments that you can pick out that deal with dry ice that you may want to have your child actually do, okay? So again, these are just some quick tips on how you can get your child engaged in STEM or STEAM education. Something else you can do, particularly being a female in science, I would have my daughters read books on female scientists. Read what obstacles they may have had to become a scientist. Maybe they didn't have any obstacles. Maybe everything was fine for them. But you can have your children actually read about the number of women who have pursued science and their discoveries. Okay? Now, here's a little tip. If you have boys, have them read those stories also about female scientists, because we don't want them to think that only men can do science, because that is not true. We do have women that do science, and they're doing it well, with stilettos and a smile and some lipstick and some earrings, okay? So, or even if they don't have any of that, women can still do STEM or science education. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of give you all some quick tips, because this week I'll be presenting some information to some teachers at the North Carolina Science Teachers Association. And what I'm going to be doing is giving them some information on how they can unlock that inner genius in their students. How can you get Albert Einstein out of your child? Dr. Macy Jamison out of your child? TK the chemist out of your child? How can you get your students to realize that they too can do science or STEM education? Whether you have an IEP or not, because that's the foundation of my research, is based on students that have IEPs, how can they be successful? And if you don't know what an IEP, I know I'm dropping some acronyms that are associated with education, but an IEP is an individual educational plan that kids typically have who have some different ways of learning, okay? Some different ways of learning. So it is your job as a teacher, if any teachers are hopping on looking at this, to make sure that you are doing what you're supposed to by your students. I know it's a lot of work, but let me tell you, even as a college chemistry professor, I have students that have IEPs as well. And I have to make sure that I follow those guidelines too, because if not, you're actually breaking the law for those children, or excuse me, in my case, my students, because I have adult students. So you want to make sure that you are following that IEP to make sure that they can succeed. There is a school in California that actually has STEM education. Their whole school is based on STEM education for children who have an IEP, who have a different way of learning. And let me tell you, some of the most brilliant minds have kids or children who have autism, ADD, ADHD. Okay, so it's not just a thing of saying only the normal kids can do science. No, every child has their own way of learning, and it is up to us as professors, teachers, educators, parents, mothers, fathers, community leaders, whoever, to ensure that they build up the confidence in children. And I see that a lot. A lot of parents don't know what to do to help their kids. Therefore, their children don't get the skills that they need. And then what happens? They fall by the wayside when it comes to them succeeding. A lot of children often tell you, oh, I don't like science. I don't like math. Math is hard. And that's because they did not seek the foundation at an early age. Parents, if you cannot help your child, guess what I need you to do? I need you to either get with the teacher to develop some strategies that you can put together for your child, or you can get your child a tutor. There are so many college students that would love to pad their resume by saying that they helped some child in need. So as a parent, you can go to the colleges to get a tutor. And sometimes you don't have to pay the college students too much, as much money as you would someone like me to do it, because, with the level of experience that I've had, there's a pretty penny that comes with that. However, I do help students that need help. I do help teachers. I also help kids that need help. And depending on what they need, the prices vary. And also, guys, I do mentor. I give away a lot of my time and resources in my community. So I'm not just sitting here saying that I'm all, going to be charging you all an arm and a leg. No, because at the end of the day, the most important thing is to make sure that these children get what they need in terms of their education. So it is up to us to ensure that they do that by giving them the resources. If you can't do it, allow somebody to do that. And if they do charge whatever they charge, be willing to pay that cost for them to get what they need. Okay? You have to be willing to pay the cost to be the boss, so to speak. But on the flip side, in terms of STEM or STEAM education, parents, teachers, students, you have to take it one by one, step by step, and building those confidence skills within yourself. When I first graduated from high school, I wanted to be like Dr. Macy Jameson. So I wanted to major in chemical engineering, thinking I was going to save the world by being this chemical engineering major. Well, after the first semester, I realized this wasn't for me. So I switched out my major and went straight chemistry. Now, there were still some challenges and difficulties, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. I was able to get through my college career, and I went on and got my master's degree, and I have not looked back since that time. And I've been at this for over 20 years now, and I really love what I do. It is up to us as educators to make sure that the passion we have come across in our students, and that they'll want to pursue it and do the same thing, if not better than what we're doing. We have to mentor our children, mentor our students. And I go out into the community all the time, providing rewarding activities for kids. We do rockets, we build rockets. As a matter of fact, today I have to go and do a rocket program for some kids. And we're going to talk about, what does it take to get that rocket to go up in the air? What does it take for that rocket to come back down? Because it can't stay up in the air. So what does it take? So we're going to look at that. And so there are a couple of things that I'm going to be doing, for the next couple of months. And my schedule is actually very tight. But if any of you guys need to reach me or reach out to me, you can always email me at info@mygemsforkids.com. Or you can go to my Instagram page at TK the Chemist, TK the Chemist. Periscope, Twitter, TK the Chemist 01. Facebook and YouTube, MYGEMS Science Center. So there are a lot of different ways that you can actually reach me. You can just Google me, okay? This is yours truly, Professor TK the Chemist. I like to say I'm your favorite college chemistry professor. And if you had me, you would have loved science, because I know how to make it fun. I trick you into learning, and I make this topic that seems so dreadful make you want to see more of it, make you want to get more from where it came from. Okay, so I'm going to hop off because I got to hop on the road and get to my students. I have a 30-minute travel period, so I got to get on the road to the other campus and get to my students, and we're getting ready to learn some chemical bonds and how to make bonding happen. Okay, covalent bonds, ionic bonds. Okay, so that's what we're going to get into today. But I'm going to hop back on. If I have time to do that today, I will hop back on today, later tonight, if I have the opportunity to, so you all can learn more about STEM or STEAM education. And if you have other people that you want to see the same thing, tag them, share this out. Also, before I forget, for those of you all that are on Periscope, you can go back and look at my science experiments that I did last Saturday. I'm going to make every Saturday a fun science STEM Saturday so that you guys can do experiments right along with me, okay? So if there's nothing else, Professor TK is out.